Hello guys, welcome back to another Android Firebase tutorial. Today we are going to learn about how to implement Firebase real-time database in your Android application. So when we hear the term database, the first thing that comes to our mind is table, rows, columns, primary key, secondary key, etc. But any of these components are not available in Firebase real-time database. Instead, in Firebase real-time database, we have to working with JavaScript object notation, or simply called JSON. So the Firebase real-time database is a JSON tree. Here is a simple Firebase real-time database entry. So this is a JSON tree. Here the root node is chat that contain two child nodes, message 1 and message 2. So in Firebase real-time database, the data is represented using each node in a JSON tree. So if you want to insert data to a Firebase real-time database, that means you have to add a new node to the Firebase JSON tree. If you want to delete a particular data from the Firebase real-time database, that means you need to remove a node from the JSON tree. So if you want to update the message, that means if you want to update the name on message 1, in that case, first one you have to access the parent node. Here the parent node is chat, and by using that instance you can access the child node. Then you can update the database. So this is a simple Firebase real-time data representation. So in this video, I am going to show you what are the basic steps you must follow to implement Firebase real-time database in your Android application. So here we need two projects. First one is an Android Studio project, and second one is a project in Firebase console. So now we can start with a new Android Studio project. Open Android Studio and start a new Android Studio project. Specify your application name. Okay, here the project is created. First we can add Firebase to this Android Studio project. So open manifest folder, open Android manifest.xml. First here I am going to add the internet permission for the application. Now copy the application package name. Now open your browser and go to Firebase console. Here you can create a new project, or you can select an existing project. Here I have an existing project. Now add Firebase to your Android app. Here specify the package name. And here we got the JSON configuration file. Copy the JSON configuration file. Now change this one into project view. Now you need to place the configuration file within the app folder. Okay, now here the configuration file available within the app folder. Now change this one into Android. Now we need to add some dependencies and plugins. Click continue. Now copy this line, copy this plugin. Now go to the Gradle section, open project level Gradle file and the lines here. Now copy this plugin, copy this line. Now open module level Gradle file. Add the line to the bottom of this file. Now we need to add the dependency for using Firebase real-time database and click finish. Now go to the documentation section. Select Android section. Yeah, here is the dependency on Firebase. So we have to use the real-time database. So copy this line. Now add the needed dependency. You have to add it inside the module level credit file. Okay, now here we add all the needed dependencies and plugins. Now make the project sync. Okay, now the project sync finishes. Go to activity main.xml. Here we already have a text view, and delete that text view. Now add a new text view to this layout. Change ID of the text view. Make it into bold. We need a large text view. Okay, now go to main activity.java. Create some variables for text view. Now initialize that variable. It is a text view. Now find it. Okay. Now we can use this text view for display the data from the Firebase real-time database. So for accessing the Firebase real-time database, first thing you have to get an instance of the Firebase database. So here create a variable for get an instance of Firebase database. Firebase database.get instance. Okay, now we need to access the root node of the JSON tree. I already tell you, in Firebase real-time database, data is saved in the form of a JSON tree. So for working with the database, first we have to get an instance to the root node of the JSON tree. So for that, create a variable database reference. I name it as root reference. By using the Firebase instance, Firebase database dot get reference. So this statement will provide a reference to the root node of the Firebase real-time database. Now we can access the child nodes. So for that, create another variable database reference child reference. By using the root node, we can access the child root reference dot child, and here you have to specify the root ID, that means the child ID. Here I specify that one into message. Okay, so we have to display the data on the text view. So this is a real-time database, that means we have to display any change on the database in real time to this text view. For that, we have to specify some listeners. So here I'm going to override one more lifecycle method on start. From that method, here I'm going to specify a listener for the database reference. So here we have to get any data change on this child node called message. So here the message reference is child reference. So we have to specify some listener for that reference. You have to use a listener called set dot add value event listener. This is the listener, add value event listener. So here we got two methods, on data change and on cancel. So if there is any change on the data available on the real-time database, this method will invoke. So if the user is not authenticated or there is an error occur, in such situation the on cancelled method will invoke. So we got the real-time data changes within this method called on data change. Here we got an object of data snapshot. That object contain all the needed methods and datas. So here we can get the data from the data snapshot. Message equal to data snapshot dot. You can use a method called get value, and here you have to pass the type. Here is a string value. Okay, now we can display the data on the text view. So message text dot set text message. Okay, so now the application is ready. Now we can run it on a virtual device. So now I'm going to start a virtual device. So before going to run this application, set some default message on the text view. Message appear here. Okay. Now the virtual device is ready. Now we can run the application. So I run it. Okay, now the application available on this virtual device. Now we can go to Firebase console and set up our database. So go to Firebase console. From left side you can access the database section. So by default only authenticated users can access the database. So if you want to provide public access to the database, you have to change the database rules. So go to the rules section. By default, the read and write operation on any Firebase database is restricted to the only authenticated users. So here there is no read and write operation permission for any unauthorized users. So in the case of a real Android application, you have to specify some authentication rules, otherwise your database can access anyone. So be careful while declaring the authentication rule. So now here I am going to make this database available for the public. So I change the read operation into true. Also here I provide a write permission to anyone and publish the rule. Now go to the data section. So now we can create the database. So here we have some information here. This is the root node of the JSON tree. Now we can create a child node. So click the plus symbol. Now here specify the ID for the child node. I name it as message. Specify a value for it. And click the add button. So here we add a child node to the root node, but that data is not available on the virtual device. You have to restart the application because we changed the database rules. We have to restart the app. And here is the data. Now the data available on our application. So now this is the JSON tree that contain a root node and child node. The child node contain our data. So now I'm going to modify the data. good morning PRABEESH, and click the add button, and here you can see that in real time the data available on our Android virtual device. So this is how we working with a Firebase real-time database. And click the add button. Now the data available in real time on the app. So these are the basic steps you must follow to implement Firebase real-time database in your Android Studio project. So this is a basic example. From the next video onwards, we are going to learn more about how to working with Firebase real-time database. I hope you understand all these concepts. Please subscribe to this channel now for getting more Firebase video updates. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.